All right, Anna, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I know you are the lead of growth at SaaS Group, an investment company that I followed along for like 10 years since I know the founder, Tim, through the Pirate Summit. And then I started listening to SaaS Unbound, the podcast that you're hosting. And you had a great conversation with Tim about how you are like really introducing AI in the everyday work at SaaS Group, and you have the chance to observe all of those teams discovering this. And is it right that, like me, you do not have a technical background?
I don't.
Yeah,
Absolutely
what's your
not.
background?
I'm a marketer through and through. And at some point, I had a fallout with marketing and I became a chef, but then I came back. So there
Oh,
was
oh, cool.
no technical background whatsoever.
That's awesome. And you are a girl that travels, isn't that right? Do you know that poem,
Yes.
that beautiful poem, "Don't Date Girls Who Travel"? You have to
Really?
read
Oh,
that one.
God.
It's
Do
absolutely
do date the
beautiful.
girls who travel.
Don't.
They're so resourceful.
And you just were like all of us thrown into it. So I do not expect you to go into all of the technical details of AI. On the opposite, I want to hear the story that how a non-technical person in the founder world who has seen other people do it, observed it in their own life as a marketer, what really worked and what didn't. And so maybe you can tell us, like what the moment was when it was just like, oh, this is a nice gimmick. I can now chat to ChatGPT. To this becomes a tool for my everyday life. Do you have a moment like that?
Yeah, so basically, I think for me, the journey with AI started a little bit before ChatGPT. So, like you said, I'm head of growth at SaaS Group, and one of the things that I do is I create a lot of content. Part of that content ends up on social media or our blog posts. And with, SaaS Group, we always wanted to be a bit of a different aggregator, buyer of SaaS businesses. We didn't want to have the stock photos, the business vibe there on the website. So very early on, I thought, okay, I want to do something a bit different. I want to somehow integrate the brand colors into the blog and everything. Long story short, I ended up with Midjourney back when you still had to use Discord to
Oh my
send
God,
it,
yeah,
yeah, like
that was
a
awesome.
prompt. It was, after some time, I actually thought I cracked the code, let's say. And I had a very good stream of very well branded pictures that all ended up on our blog, and that's when ChatGPT was announced. And at first, let's be honest, it wasn't good enough to generate the same quality pictures as Midjourney. So I stick into Midjourney for maybe another 6 months or so. Still was trying to figure out, okay, what this ChatGPT is about. So I think for me, the first time, I just needed a big research, and it worked. Not too early, because at first I was like, there were time constraints and it was a bit outdated, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I need that. But the moment it worked and the moment it was, real time information, something that was absolutely relevant, something that ChatGPT could also explain to me like a 5-year-old, because I'm not a technical person, I'm not a very financial person either. So the easier M&A is explained to me, the better. And when ChatGPT did that, that's when I thought, okay, well, that's amazing. That's what I'm going to use it for.
Some research like on M&A and explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I actually as you, I have kids. I have two girls, like 8 and 10. And when one was like, yeah, probably 6, 2 years ago, she was asking me to explain diabetes. Yeah, and I was like, oh,
Okay.
how do you do that for someone in first class? And then I got this beautiful, really visual explanation of what it is about locks and keys, and it's like, and I think that was also their first introduction. And later they planned 1 year ago our trip to London as kids, as girls there in the car through the voice ChatGPT moment, and totally fascinating.
Yeah.
how we all get caught like by this feeling. And then I'm curious to hear like, okay, what were like some of the key workflows that really made it into your life? For example, on my end, I was so happy to ditch my WordPress website. When I finally made that move, I was building like as a non-technical guy WordPress sites since probably like 12 years. So I had 20. Yeah, I really knew the system and I loved it and I hated it like most people. And then when I could start talking to an AI agent and my website changed in front of me and I could build
Okay.
features like that was so different. Like, and I could never ever go back from that. What are those never ever going back things that made it into your everyday life?
That's a good one. So I think, yeah, as I already mentioned, so anything regarding big research, anything regarding, compiling big chunks of information that I need to create content, that I need to have ideas for the podcast as well, to have ideas for, our events and stuff. That I'm never going back to just manually searching on the internet, obviously. That helps a lot. The other one is editing the podcast. And I mean, we're now on Riverside FM, and you can, again, love it or hate it. I do both, honestly, because it's so helpful. It's got amazing AI features. It offers you the shorts that you can later leverage for YouTube,
Mhm.
but sometimes it feels like so much. Oh my God. And that's when the hate happens. But overall, with how easy it is to level up the audio now, how easy it is to use the captions, how easy it is to crop videos for YouTube. So anything regarding podcasts is amazing. Honestly, I would never go back. If Riverside is not enough for you, and it wasn't enough for me, it still isn't. There is also Descript, another amazing AI-powered tool that I use for podcast, where you can work with your podcast again by talking to it, and you work with a transcript, not with the video. So if you're not, a savvy video editor, then it's definitely for you. So I love that one. I'm definitely not a power user, unfortunately. I think there are so many features really cool that I could still learn about. But yeah, it's really good enough, great enough for me to stick to it. I love Lovable. Uh, for me, it's that for as I said, I'm not a technical person, but I'm a very visual person, and I have my biases, so I think it's easier for everybody to just see what I mean and how it could look like, and maybe, that would spark more interest and, further ideas. So it's amazing for me how easy it is to just go to Lovable and do a quick project. This is how an alternative page on the website could look like. This is how an invitation to an event could look like. This is an additional tiny project that would add a lot of value. I don't know, be a lead magnet or whatever for founders. This is something educational. So I think it gives you so much freedom to just create that MVP and just show what you mean. It's been really a deal breaker for me. And I think the last one, and I don't use it as is because it doesn't have the editing options and you can't really add any branding to it, but Notebook LLM, I think just mind-blowingly cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, there are constraints and there are things that you end up not liking about what it gives you, but even to see where it's going and how it could look like. For me, this is mostly just a brainstorming platform, but yeah, to see how, I mean, we created this M&A course for founders, for SaaS founders who consider selling their companies, and it's not AI. There is zero AI there. We spent almost a year recording and editing and re-editing the course. But later on, I took all the transcripts, everything I had, all the videos, fed it to Notebook LLM and got an incredible overview, a video with great narration, what it is about. And I was just like, okay, wow. When this, yeah, yes. It's not only slides. Like a legit video with like moving parts and infographics. And yeah, when this scales, when this becomes real with branding options, I think it's going to be huge. But for now, I just see what it's doing and what parts it focuses on and gives me some ideas so I can act on it and create my own. Yeah. I mean, there is one more, two more actually. One is something that we've built internally, and I think it's a brilliant tool that works for us. And it's a system that analyzes a company and gives us an overview and puts it in our CRM and tells us basically how much of a fit it is for SaaS Group portfolio. And it saves so much time. Again, you see all the metrics and everything that you can find publicly, but you don't have to look for it. So it's great. And the fact that you can integrate it with the CRM is also super helpful. And the last one, I'm going to brag a little bit because it's my idea. But you know that I have the podcast, and to this day, I think it's about 280 episodes. So I thought, oh my God, it's so many hours. It's like days of content, and it's just sitting there, not doing anything. Obviously, you can go and look for the old episodes and see what people are talking about. To look for a specific thing. You want to know what Jason Fried thinks about AI, what DHH thinks about cloud infrastructure. I mean, it's long podcasts and they happened a year ago, a couple years ago. What if we have this very simple kind of ChatGPT interface that works with absolutely all the transcripts that are there? And you can basically chat with any founder that ever chatted with me. And you can also get overview. Okay, tell me everything that anybody ever said about growth or bootstrapping or selling and yeah. And it's live, not for everybody. It's live for us. For us.
Any plans to make it live?
Yes, definitely plans to make it live, probably sometime in March.
And you are in the lead of also building that?
Absolutely not. That's already way too difficult. So I just had an idea, and I was working on ideation with our central AI team, which is absolutely incredible. But it's all them. They're doing the back end. They're making sure that all the correct APIs are working there. So it's all them. I'm just the um yeah the idea person.
Well, that's good. Like needing to source that. Yeah, that is often the essence. And code has become cheaper. Software not so much. Yeah, as a total, but code has become a lot cheaper, becoming like really sourcing an idea that very likely has a demand. That's going to be more and more key, and then finding people like who believe in that and throwing a lot of tokens against that. But let me pick up on that idea with a podcast research. Think in the pre-render episode, you talked a little bit about how you don't think about AI like as a friend, but more like an intern or like a colleague that you work with. And And so I want to get some more context from you on that end and how you talk to it, how what you would suggest to another non-technical operator. Like, what kind of context would you give this AI intern? Are you okay talking about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I think one of the things that, well, hopefully we all got to learn, but I definitely got to learn and at the end of the day appreciate it. So probably everyone went through that stage where you go to ChatGPT and you're like, create me a company, create me a piece of content, do the magic. And then you're like, "Oh, but that's shit. That doesn't work." And at the end of the day, like I said, hopefully we all learn that it needs context. It needs a lot of it. The clearer it is, the better. I mean, I've recently started working with quite a few again generation platforms because it was also building something for myself. And what really helped me, and that's when I started to appreciate documentation. And, I always thought about documentation as this aid for engineers. So it's only if
Mhm.
you're an engineer you would go to something called documentation because it is probably code. And that's not true. So basically, my hack at the end of the day became going to documentation and reading how exactly I should do my prompt in order for the model to understand me. Working with different image generation models that helped immensely. And then I landed on a few that I really loved at the end of the day. But with ChatGPT, it's basically the same thing. So you have to figure out the language that it likes, the details, what kind of information you can give it as a support to what it's doing. So what I like to do, you know that now there are projects that you can leverage on ChatGPT. It's available to everybody, to be honest, because we
Yes,
have
it
the
is.
enterprise. Okay, cool. And in the project, so I try to first of all upload as many documents, hopefully not confidential,
Yeah, yeah.
as
Understand.
possible to just show, what was a win before, what I thought was a win before, what I thought was a good piece of content, what I thought represented the voice of, a piece of content that I'm working on or an idea that I'm working on. What are the constraints where this idea is going? Either it's, a podcast or it's a pitch or it's a blog post or it's social media, depending on that, there will be a bit of a different tonality. Then why I need it and the metric, I don't know, it's a fancy word metric, but basically what would look good for you. So I want 10 10
Yeah.
relevant founder events and not 8, I don't want 9, I want 10. 10 is good. Then don't give me anything where you can't find I don't know, the person in charge. Don't give me anything above $1,000 for a ticket. Oh, really give it um enough information to act on it and to give it a chance to give you the right answer, just like you would with an intern, with an assistant. You know, you if you were going to London, all right, on a trip, you would probably tell your assistant when you're going, who you're going with, how many days, what airlines you prefer, what area of the city you would like to stay in. If you're vegan, so don't suggest you steakhouses. So basically the same thing works for any LLM, or at least, that's what I think. So yeah, I have a list of several prompts that I like to use. And I also have several projects. So I have, for example, SaaS Group Marketing Assistant that helps me brainstorm. I have a SaaS Group Researcher that helps me research. And it's different set of specifications and asks that I have there. And then it's just also easier to maintain.
Good question. Like,
Hopefully,
yeah, that already helps. But let me dig into that. So ChatGPT you use to date this talk. It's currently 5.2 that we're using, and this project feature is really underrated. I think lots of people just start new conversations, and yeah, through the memories features of ChatGPT, it has become better. But especially for people like probably us who switch a lot of contexts. Yeah, you talk about this company, then that, and that. These projects, yeah, you can just scope it down to just stick to the context that you have in here, throw files into it. I often even let the files be created. Yeah, so I do a research, maybe have an outline created, then I use the deep research feature, pull that down as a PDF, bam, throw that back into the project as a file. And that has so consistently leveled up the answers, yeah, that you get and reduce the amount of hallucinations. So I really want everyone to double down on Anna's suggestion there. And I'm curious, you said you have a lot of problems. I do, but I've been super unorganized with managing them. Do you have a recommendation for where to put them and how to structure that?
No.
It seems like such an obvious thing we should all do, but why am I not doing it? Where do you start them? Do you have them in Notion or Apple Notes? I have them all
No.
over the place.
So, okay. So I'm going to start a fire here, but I'm one of those people who work in tabs, not in apps. So I have a billion tabs, and one of the tabs that is always open is a Google Doc with all my prompts. It's
Ah,
7 prompts. It's nothing
yeah,
fancy.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
hundreds
yeah.
of them, but it's just always open. Um, yeah, that's it. I don't
Yeah,
have a
that's cool.
fancy vault or anything. But I just said it because, I mean, obviously there are a lot of tech people at SaaS Group, and when I say, I have Slack in a tab, not as an app, they're like, "Oh no, that's the end of this conversation."
But maybe that's our non-technical nature. I even have a word for. I call it Chrome tab bankruptcy when I just need to close them. When I need to give up and I just
Absolutely.
need to restart my Chrome, I call it Chrome bankruptcy, like email bankruptcy, when you decide to, okay, I'm going to archive all of my emails and the important people will get back to me.
No.
Too many tabs.
It's funny you said, I'm a girl who travels, and I was applying for a new visa a couple of days ago, and it just wouldn't work. I wouldn't get the activation link to work. And my boyfriend, who is a developer, came to me and he was like, "But you have a gazillion tabs open. Sometimes that slows it down." And he starts closing them. And and I'm like, "No, that is not allowed."
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man. So I remember I started vibe coding pretty much exactly a year ago. The December before that, I made the decision like, Ben, I was so annoyed working with developers on my products that I had in my mind. And there was another product that was so, I thought at least, yeah, it was so good that didn't materialize into something a customer could use and pay for like 6 months. Yeah, and I was like, no, 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 this needs to stop. Ben, you have been marketing like for 13 years or something like that. You need to become the builder as well and build and grow. So I saw myself, okay, next chance to learn coding, which I absolutely failed on previously, mostly because it never got the priority in my life. Yeah, it took so much insane amount of time. And so I started vibe coding, set myself a challenge to release my first SaaS in 3 months by my birthday. It was number 43. Yeah. And I made that, and I remember this Apple Note with all of it's called like coding cheat sheet. And then over time, I figured out like some debugging prompts like, hey, I was using Cursor at that time. And like, if you run TSC, you can see all of the TypeScript errors and then you can fix them. So I had this little prompt for all of these little things that I discovered and that a good developer friend of mine helped me discover. So yeah, but I haven't found a structured way to organize all of this stuff. But I'm very interested in how far did you get into this whole vibe coding thing? What have you observed, maybe even with the people that you have interviewed who are actually considering putting vibe coded products into production and having it out there feels more normal to me now, but I want to hear your perspective.
Sure. So, I'm going to start, with what we're doing at SaaS Group because thank God I had a conversation with our head of AI yesterday. So it's a little
Who's
bit
that?
refreshed. Belma Ibrahimovic. So she just joined us last summer, and we already had quite a few things, really cool things going on. But when she joined, it all became like, okay, we need processes and we need education and we need ideas and initiatives. And, there is so much right now. So we really double down on investment into learning. But anyway, so we're, love it or hate this word, empowered at SaaS Group to learn AI and to use AI. And the projects that we were doing that were put in production, um, as you say, they were at first fairly small, right? So a lot of the marketing team, for example, were leveraging Lovable or Bolt or something else. I don't even remember. But we were building like simple tools like lead magnets, some reports that really worked. And once we did that, we felt like, okay, that worked and it didn't break any processes behind it. So we can go a little further. Well, you know, for me, for example, I'm the kind of person that doesn't really see a lot of fences around me or, restraints. So when I heard that, somebody on LinkedIn said we use Lovable to create this big thing and we even are making money with it. I was like, okay, if that's possible, why can't I do that? So I went to Lovable and I really started doing something a bit bigger than me at that point. I was creating an M&A. So to all the people who don't know what M&A data room is, M&A, first of all, it's mergers and acquisitions, right? SaaS Group acquires SaaS companies, and when they sell to us, they usually have all their sensitive data, their metrics, their financials stored very conveniently in Google Docs or, Google Drive. And, it's good enough, it's secure, but I thought, okay, I want to do something that is secure, that also has, some kind of benchmarks inside. So whenever you upload documents, you can see your progress and you can see what other documents could be missing. So, I talked to a lot of people to give me the list of, what could be the documents that we would require. And, there were checklists and you could collaborate with your lawyers, for example, or with the rest of the team and leave each other comments. Okay, we're still missing financials for 2024, or where is this IP contract? So, long story short, it took quite some time and it was so much debugging. It was absolutely crazy. But at the same time, when Lovable says, okay, this is not working. Do you want me to configure or, do something? And you're like, yes, okay, do that, assuming that it makes it all better. And, everything broke at some point, and then everything got back together. And now it's more of kind of a showroom, because at the end of the day, within a data room that is built on Lovable, I can never, at least at this point, be sure that it's secure enough for companies to store their sensitive data there, right? We didn't we didn't decide to go forward with it, but as, a project that shows you how data room could look like, shows you the checklist, shows you what's missing, kind of gives you this first step. Okay, I'm not ready to sell yet, but if I am in the future, then this could be great. And also, what I realized and what a lot of developers told me at the end of the day when I showed them all exciting, like, oh my God, I built that. Each and every one of them said, Anna, it's great, looks amazing, and it even works, but nobody knows what's on the back end. And if something breaks, if something really breaks, you'll have to find a very expensive developer to dig through all the thousands of lines of code that are there that you know zilch about. And I thought,
That's a
okay,
wild idea, right?
yeah. So I was like, okay, lovable, amazing. All those alternatives also great. But so far, before I can somehow be 100% sure that it's secure, yeah,
Reliable.
it's
Yes.
reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot really do anything about it. So I use Lovable to build a landing page for the project that I was building for myself. But the actual project is built by a real developer with, a real thing. So, yeah.
Have you dipped your toes beyond lovable, where you like maybe said, okay, I'm hitting a wall here. I want to see what's possible, like in cursor land or Claude Code land.
I'm not there yet. I've had quite a few founders now lately on the podcast who told me Claude doesn't have to be just about the code. So you can actually try and leverage it for your day to day. But I haven't had time yet. And I think I need to bring myself to the point where I'm okay.
Yeah, but we also, as non-technical people, have to see at least the promise of a return of all that time that we invest. Like, there's this feeling of often like maybe falling behind if we don't invest the time and go into this. Like even like hardcore developers like Andrew Kapathy tweeting about like he never felt as far behind as a developer, and we're talking about 0.1% developer. How do you feel about that at the moment?
I think I have an answer that is not going to be very popular with your audience, but I have a job and I want to do that well. And I want to automate exactly what I need to automate. Most of what I do is relationship based, brand awareness based. It's a lot, what I say usually to people who ask me about automating my processes and using AI for code outreach. You don't write a multi-million-dollar check after a cold email that was written by AI. There is no way. You have to invest in something a little bit different. So honestly, I'm focusing on that. I'm focusing on building a brand. I'm focusing on building relationships with founders, doing a lot of podcasts, going to events. So a bit more of a personal thing in this age of AI. And I know that I'm expected to use a bit more. And maybe I will. After all, now I'm not the only marketer. Because, up until SaaS Group reached $100 million in ARR, I was the only growth and marketing person working on it. So now with help, yes, with help, with, a person who is happy to, to automate, to do the metrics, that is a lot more organized than me, let's be honest. Maybe I will find time to, to leverage Claude, maybe even, to make our events somehow better, to make podcast experience somewhat better. But for now, I'm prioritizing very different things.
I think people will even like feel that as a relief. Yeah, it's you suspected that people will not like what you just said, but I think most people will actually feel a level of relief. Like it doesn't have to be all about that. It's AI is just is a tool like any other that has been introduced to us, like our phones, like the web, like email, and it's just giving us a lot more leverage. Yeah, I think, but a lot
100%.
of that leverage has been used to become to just get more personalized cold outreach messages that feel cold, like they don't have a soul. And maybe as a bridge to what I want to talk to you last about is what I observed is that developers have a very strong tendency in just building developer tools for other developers supporting the development process. Yeah, and SaaS Group is mostly focused on acquiring those tools. So they are very vertical, and they're taking this new AI leverage to go deeper into developing a better developer experience. But the non-developers I've seen going more horizontal and seeing now, oh, it's interesting that I can now start at least have some capabilities to build something called a product, yeah, or lead magnet or some experience. But they use it for all kinds of things. You said like using Claude code for other things as well. So I think it's on people like us who are not in this complete dev circus to figure out how can we take the human edge and enrich that. I always say something like when I in a hybrid model develop a new blog post, like I try to give it the soul, yeah, and I try to let the I like give it some wings and more reach and put it into different formats. And I'm curious, like what do you think could be the really human things, yeah, that will shine completely outside of the AI bubble, and what are maybe some things where AI can give it some wings that developers do not think about?
I mean, on the other hand, it can also give, technical founders so much, right? Because you can also take Claude code and, automate your content and make sure that you have a bit more. A bit more there, a bit more ideas. I don't know. You can scrape. What was it? A couple years ago, right? Everyone was scraping like 10,000 most performing LinkedIn posts and then trying to recreate them. I think it was Taplio that was trying to leverage that. And I mean, that's that's something so easy, I think, for technical founders. I think at the same time, people will be craving a bit more of a personal touch. Like on a podcast that I was recently hosting, founder who's also building an AI powered tool for marketers said, this tool is not to substitute you as a host of the podcast, because if you substitute you, then that's it. There are no relationship, no leverage, no brand, no person behind it. But we want to substitute you as this little hamster trying to edit, distribute, write posts, write blog posts, make sure your transcripts are right, and so on. So I think humans will still crave humans. That's great. I think if we give ourselves a little bit of breathing room, like you said, a lot of people are relieved maybe that I said that I'm not focusing on AI 150%, uh, then we'll actually create more benefits. Because if you're just trying to figure out what else I can automate and what else I can do better or faster with AI, it's funny how we started at SaaS Group, this whole AI uh, craze a little bit by sending a message to the group saying, we're already behind. And I think it created such stressful time for
Yes.
people because nobody could understand who is ahead. Why are they ahead? How are they doing it? What are we doing now? Does it affect my job? What about my career? And it was so stressful that I think honestly, yes, it will take some jobs. It will, affect some careers, but it will also create jobs, and it will be just like any other tool that was given to us. Just give yourself a bit of time to figure out what you can do with it and what's your leverage with AI. But taking away the human completely, I don't know. It's like I was even talking to somebody who was doing ghostwriting and just a lot of posting on LinkedIn, and I read their post, and I was like, wait, that that's AI. I know that's AI, but why are there mistakes, like grammar mistakes? spelling mistakes. And that's what they told me was really funny because they said, yeah, but people, you know, when they see that mistake, they think it's a person behind it, but it's just a prompt. Make two spelling
It's pure
mistakes,
human. Yeah.
stupid spelling mistake. And I was like, oh my God, no, let me make my own mistakes.
Yeah. So if you would recommend people like one small thing that they can do next to apply this to make their own mistakes, what would you recommend?
I would recommend to step back and look at the tools that you're using and do a bit of a cleanse and only really keep those that you need, only keep those that you want to learn that give you value already and double down on those and strip it off everything else, all the noise. Because I think at some point I was subscribed to so many. I was trying everything, all the, brand recognition platforms and what is it? AEO. What is it instead? CO. AEO?
GEO. Yeah,
AEO, yeah.
generative engine optimization.
So
Yeah.
many names for it now that at some point, my 1,000 tabs became 2,000 tabs, and that was absolutely unbearable. So what I did, I sat down and I said, okay, that's enough. I honestly just want to use what works for me, and then slowly start reaching out to others, asking what works for them, what really moves the needle, what really is needed for what I do. Again, maybe it's going to be an unpopular opinion, but don't bother about anything else because then you just create this very stressful situation for yourself and it's not going to help you in your career or in your job. It's going to be what's going to give you a burnout.
I'm glad you say that. Thank you so much. Can you maybe tell people where people can follow you, Anna, then maybe SaaS Group and your SaaS Unbound podcast?
Sure. So if you go to YouTube and type saas.unbound, you'll find the podcast as well with the Spotify and Apple podcasts. saas.group is our website. So you can read a little bit, learn a little bit about what SaaS Group is doing. And Anna Nadeina, that's LinkedIn, and that's probably the easiest way to find me. I'm very responsive if you want to chat AI and something not AI, hopefully, then absolutely.
Thank you so much, Anna. See you next
Oh,
time.
see you.